Joining me today on Rock and Roll Damnation on behalf of the Rockers Not Dead Festival, which is being held on February 1st at the Koala Tavern in Brisbane, is Will from Bite Whisky. Welcome along today, Will, and looking forward to having a chat with you, mate.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. I'm looking forward to the gig too. It's going to be a big one.
Absolutely. So, for those that aren't aware of who Bite Whisky are, tell us a little bit about the band's history, your style of music, um, and anything else that we need to know about the band.
Sure. Well, the band consists of myself on bass. Alan's our singer. We've got Dan on guitar and Marky's on drums. This lineup's been solid since about 2018. Primarily our genre or our style of music's like your classic Aussie pub rock, think like Rose Tattoo, Angels, that sort of thing. All originals music. Yeah, it's been good for us so far. We've done quite a few trips down to Sydney, and we've been down to Melbourne. We're looking at other avenues to possibly go overseas this year. See how that pans out. But all in all, it's been fun. It's been good. Had a few big gigs, and quite a few of the bands that are on the bill we've actually played with before. So we're looking forward to catching up with them and hitting the stage again and really tearing it up.
So, for an original band like you guys, what's been the biggest challenge that you face, being in Brisbane?
I think the biggest challenge being an originals band, and it's not just us, but I think most of the local originals bands will find the same thing, is that there seems to be sort of a stipulation with a lot of venues lately that they want bums on seats, they want guarantees of numbers through the door, so they know that covers bands will pull those sort of figures because it's the nostalgia thing and people know the songs, or they want a tribute show for bands that people either grew up with or they're fans. So sometimes the local scene for originals bands seems to take a back seat, but we're struggling through, and there's a lot of the bands that are on the show that are originals bands too, and they're all kicking ass, and we're just trying to make the most of what we can do and put our music out there. The music's been pretty good for us. It's done well for us, not just here but overseas. So we'll just keep plugging along, and yeah, we'll see how we go.
Absolutely, and I mean that's I guess that's the beauty of a festival like Rockers Not Dead. It really is embracing local talent. It's showcasing you guys, and I love the fact that both Pablo and Shane have just devoted so much passion and attention into getting this happening and making it successful. How did you guys come to be a part of the lineup?
Well, I think initially we got might have been like a Facebook message or an email asking if we'd be interested in being involved, and I just instantly put it to the guys, and it was like, yeah, hell yeah, this would be pretty cool, great lineup, a great venue, great cause to keep the live scene happening. So we just said, yep, absolutely. I'll actually We've been writing some new material, so we're just trying to work out what we're going to throw in the set list and what we're not going to throw in the set list. I'll actually be getting off a cruise ship that day, coming home, grabbing my gear, and heading to the venue. So she's going to be pretty full on the first. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go it off a cruise ship straight to a gig. It's not a bad
Done it
thing.
once before, so we're going to try and do it again. We'll be all good.
So last year you released the Last Temptation album. Tell me a little bit about that record and the process and recording and so forth of it.
Oh, writing that and recording that, it just seemed to take, at one point, it just seemed to take forever. And there were times when someone in the band got COVID and we couldn't do anything, and then someone else had to do something. So we just sort of just had to go with what we could go with at the time. And then it just seemed to all come together. And uh, majority of our stuff is normally done. Our production guys are in San Francisco and LA. And then you've got to sort of weigh up, are you going to go there? You got to sort of see what the money market's like, see what the dollar value is at the moment. It's crap. So I don't know whether we'll be doing much overseas at the moment. But yeah, like Michael, he's our producer. He's sort of like the fifth member, and And Don, he's our guy that mixes our stuff down. So Dave does a great job. And we've got the new stuff coming out, hopefully sometime in the not too distant future, and we'll just keep the train rolling and see how we go. But so Last Temptation, it was a bit of a battle because, like I said, we had illness in the band. We still everyone has writer's block, and it's like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I know that sounds like crap, but it's write something different. But it all seemed to come together, and we got it out there, and it seems to be doing pretty good. It's getting a bit of airplay around the trap, so we'll we'll tip our cap to the people that helped us make it happen and see what happens with the new one.
So you guys are completely independent. You're not signed to a label or a distribution
We have a deal. We're actually signed with Curtain Call Records in the States, and they help us with mainly digital distribution and getting it out to radio stations and around the world and things like that. They've been great with us. We can't sort of do too much more without them. They've been really good. They get the music out there and they tell us how things are going, and they try to get us hooked up with with gigs and all that sort of thing. And it's just big thing with that because they're an American company. The two things you're looking at is basically is the cost of getting there, and the legalities is another thing too. But they're working with some people to look up shows around Europe and things like that. So anything's possible this year, they reckon. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and keep putting money in the coffers. So when the time comes, we've got money to travel.
I mean, 2024 for a lot of bands, a lot of original independent bands seemed to be the year where they did, sort of take off overseas. I guess from a local standpoint, you had the guys from Bite Whisky head overseas. You had Avalanche head overseas to play the Japanese markets. There really is a growth and expansion, I think, for Australian hard rock again on an international level, which is really good to see. I just wish, Australia would embrace our own a little bit more. Do you guys get much of a chance to play outside of Queensland?
Well, as I said, we've had quite a few successful trips down to Sydney. I think our last interstate trip was down to Melbourne where we did the Cherry Bar, and I can't think of the other one just off the top of my head, but they were great gigs. But Sydney, when they had Frankie's kicking, that was a great venue. So we did a couple of shows at Frankie's. The Bridge Hotel, we've played there a couple of times. So anything's possible. We may try and get back down there this year, but there's some stuff on the table at the moment that might get us over to New Zealand at some point this year. And of course, the paperwork is on the desk to go through to go to Japan. So we just got to work out when, we all have jobs, which sucks, but what can you do? We got to pay the bills and pay the airfares.
One way or the other, unfortunately, yes. So I mean, in a modern world where I guess Spotify and streaming services are the kings of how artists get heard and discovered. How beneficial has that been to the band as far as gaining a greater exposure on a global basis?
To a certain point, it's been helpful because it gets you on people's they've got the playlists and a lot of the time some of the radio stations will source the material from things like Spotify. As a monetary value, you get nothing from it, really. You get jack as far as getting the monetary value. But it does get your name out there in some form with, like I said, people's playlists and the radio stations and that sort of thing. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm old school. I prefer record companies to sort of to pick a band up, nurture them, maybe help financially getting an album out and putting them on the road as a support and just having the band grow. But that's not going to happen, I don't think, in the near future anymore. So unfortunately, I think those are days of the past, and it's just a lot of the bands have just got to get out there and do what they can for themselves, and hopefully someone will help them along the way.
Mm. And again, I guess if we go back to the whole rock is not dead concept, I think this is a great showcase for guys like yourself and for other bands that embrace that true rock and roll spirit. I mean, having a listen to you guys, and I mean, prior to Rockers is Not Dead, I hadn't heard of you guys. I'd heard the name, but I hadn't actually sat down and sort of invested the time in you guys. But what I've found from you guys is you just have this essence of Australian classic hard rock, pub rock, but you do it in your way. It's not copycatting or cloning anybody in particular, and that's what I found really refreshing about you guys. And once you look at the type of music that you play, you almost automatically envision what the live show's like. What is a Black Whiskey live show like?
Well, it's not pyros and flames and fireworks and all that sort of thing like the days of old, but we just get out there and we put everything into the performance to make everything sound as good and as presentable we can to the audiences. That's something that we may look at this year is to see how we can sort of change the visual of the show. At the moment, as you said, we put our own spin on an Australian classic of the sound of pub rock. And if you think back to bands like even like Rose Tattoo and that visually on stage, it's just the guys performing the music and performing it well, which is what we try to do. But when we're starting to look at possibly going on the international market, like overseas, to perform live, we're going to probably put a little bit more thought into the visual aspect of the show as far as how we can present it, what we can add to it, what we may need to change. The music will still stay there; it won't change too much, but just polishing the production of a live show is always. I mean, I was a Kiss fan. I've been a Kiss fan since 1976, so I know what a visual show's like. Same with Iron Maiden, another favourite band. So both big visual live acts, and that side of it's always impressed me, and always something that my old big band that I was in I won't say that around mid 80s. Vice was a big visual rock band as well. So we haven't sort of put a lot of, I wouldn't say effort, but we haven't sort of concentrated too much on overly producing a visual for the show. We just want to get the music out there and play it and get the people in. But now I think it's the time to maybe add things to it as far as the production value goes and just sort of take it the next step and see what people think. If they think it's crap, we'll just change back to what we do. But we'll try and get something out there to sort of, like you said, you can't please everyone all the time, but we try and please as many as we can as far as it goes for a gig.
Now, you made mention of new music. Will the Rock Is Not Dead show feature some new tunes that people perhaps haven't heard?
Will be decided this weekend when we get together and go through some of it, because we've had time off over Christmas, and like I said, we all work, and like I'm a 24/7 shift worker, so it's got to sort of basically revolve around my roster. So we've been writing, and we got some great new tunes, and I think one of the last gigs we did last year, we actually put one of the new ones in the set, and I don't think we hadn't ever played it live, and I think we'd rehearsed it twice, and it went over well, so that could end up in the set list. But stranger things have happened. I'd like to have a new show ready to go. Like, if not for Rockers Dead, try and put at least one new song in that set list, and then from there we'll start bringing out a new show, putting new material in, getting the new material recorded, and then sort of maybe tour a new album in mid-year, something like that, hopefully. Fun and games.
Yeah, that all sounds incredible. I'm really keen to see you guys live because, as I said before, it's the energy of the music that you guys play that no doubt will get people moving and drinking, having a great time. And I guess that's the essence of what is set out to be done. Is there a band on the Rock Is Not Dead bill that you're looking forward to seeing that you may not have seen before?
Avalanche, I know of them, and I may have spoken to some of the members previously, but I've never seen them live. So I'm looking forward to that. Haven't seen Jay and the boys from Snakebite for quite a while live. I think maybe our last show with them might have been possibly at the Tomcat in the Valley a while back. Um, they're always great live. They kick ass. Goatzilla, Ben and the boys, we've played with them a few times. So there's a few of the bands that we know and we've either played with before and we're all looking forward to catching up again. But it's the whole thing's going to be great. We just want people to buy a ticket and turn up because it's going to be a hell of a show. And if you don't turn up, you're a mug for missing it because it's going to be good.
Well, this is the thing too. I mean, you look at it, it's 10 hours of music with 8 bands at, $5 per band. I mean, $40, what does that get you these days? And this is a massive day of rock and roll. So, if you're a fan, if you're remotely curious, if you just want a good night out, I think, this is the place to be on the 1st of February. Now, going back and talking about the other bands too, Avalanche, I can say for sure, put on one hell of a show. I've seen them; they're amazing live. The Snakebite guys, I'm super keen to check out. I haven't seen them with the new lineup. I think I saw them the last time in Melbourne, just before the new lineup. So excited to see what those guys have add to the band. And yeah, every band on the bill, I'm looking forward to. I think there's something unique from everybody to be heard and had and shared. So, but I think the thing is the fact that it's a homegrown, completely independent run festival by Shane and Pablo is something really remarkable, and I do hope that people do get behind it, just as the bands have.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I tip my hat to the two, to Shane and Pablo because they're really trying, and it's like they're not backing down. Then they're not going to give up. The show's going ahead. So I really hope that people get behind it. But like you said, the way the bands have, we're all looking forward to it. It's a great lineup. It's a diverse lineup. It's not like you're getting the same sound of 8 different bands. We all bring something different to the gig. So whereas you might sort of not be into something or haven't heard that type of band before and you go, oh shit, that's pretty cool. And then you've got other bands that you've heard before. There's something for everyone. So everyone needs to turn up, support the show, support the bands, and support the live music scene. Because if you don't, there may not be one in the near future. So get out there and support the bands and support the venues.
I'm making myself and my partner are making the trip up from Melbourne to check it all out. So, the word has spread far and wide, and I hope that we do see a few more people from interstate. I've heard mutterings of people sort of being curious, but I think again, as you said, if you don't buy a ticket, you're a mug. You're going to miss out on one of the best days of live music that Brisbane's had for quite some time. And yeah, I'm so excited to catch up with you all and hear what you bring to this amazing package. Will you guys have merch there, I guess, is the next question.
We will actually, and that again, I'll have to go and dig some stuff out. We've got, the standard stuff. We've got, t-shirts, stubby coolers, there'll be CDs, bit of everything, I think. We'll take a smattering of everything that we've got. And if anyone wants something on the day, they can grab a shirt or a stubby cool or anything, and we'll take it from there and see how they go. I think everyone's going to probably have at least something. I assume that everyone's going to have something on offer for everybody. So that's what performing live is all about. You've got the show, and then you've got your merch. So that's what gets the names from a lot of bands out there. Is someone has a T-shirt on and someone asks a question, who the fuck's that? It's like, oh, we saw them last weekend, so you should, that's how it's happened for us. Like back in the early days of my music career, when I was like late teens, early 20s, we put on sort of such an outrageous show that half the crowd hated it, but half that crowd told someone about it, and then they turned up and they liked it, so they told someone, and it just by word of mouth, it just went insane over the course of a couple of months. And that's what I'm hoping. Things like this, Rock is Not Dead Yet Fest. It's not dead yet. It's still there. People just have to get out and see it. That's the thing. One of the things I've noticed with live gigs compared to back in the day was we'd put on a gig and the venue would always take the bar because obviously they're going to make more money over the bar, and the bands would take the door.
Yep.
So you'd set your price, you'd have a door person, you pay as you came in. But the thing is, back then, people would come. A lot of people would come. But the numbers I've seen over time are sort of starting to dwindle. And I guess it's an age thing too. When you get to sort of my age or a bit younger or something like that, people have got young families and they've got work commitments and family commitments. They procrastinate. Oh, I'd like to go, but maybe not. Just get a ticket and go. Just get out there and enjoy it. Otherwise, it might not be around for you to enjoy in the future. So, make an effort. Everyone should make an effort.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. We'll wrap this up. But Black Whisky are appearing at the Rock Is Not Dead Festival on February 1st at the Koala Tavern in Brisbane. Please get along, see these guys, support the amazing people that are supporting this, like Black Whisky and Will himself. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, mate, and I can't wait to meet you in person on the day. So again, thank you for your time.
All good, mate. The pleasure's been mine. Shane and Pablo, you guys rock. We're looking forward to catching up to everyone on the day. Grab a ticket. Mate, it's a good price for a ticket. Cost me a lot more money to go and see some of these international bands that probably won't put on such a good show as what these guys are going to. So we'll see you there at the gig. And yeah, everyone take care.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time.
No worries.
See you, Will.
All good.